¿Qué es lo que mi gente? Yo soy Ricky de Bilingue Blogs. Thanks for coming back if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, I know Spanish. You want to learn Spanish. I teach Spanish right here and I also do private lessons. Go ahead and subscribe. It's really simple. Anywho, today's video is for those of you who want to teach yourself Spanish or any other language. You can use these tips, this advice to learn any language that you want. You know, I've had many people talking to me about learning Spanish. That's cool and all, but don't use the energy to talk to me about learning Spanish. As far as like, you know, oh, I want to learn this so bad, or, you know, don't talk about that. Just, you have to do it. You have to do it. So these are the tips that will help you to do it yourself if you're not taking a course. So the first thing that is necessary is that you have to know what your goals are. And when I say goals, I'm talking about in a lot of different senses. So what is your goal for learning the language? So are you trying to be a conversational speaker in Spanish? Do you want to learn it in its entirety? Are you traveling somewhere and just want to know those local phrases and, you know, if an emergency happens? What is your goal? After that is established, you need to have smaller goals. So you need to have long-term and short-term goals. So what do I want to learn today? What do I want to learn by this week? What do I want to learn this month, this year? Like things like that. You really have to do this to keep you motivated, because learning Spanish by yourself can get tricky sometimes, can get difficult if you're not understanding something. But you have to stay motivated, and these goals will give you something to strive for. If those don't help you, then I mean, you may just not learn. You really have to have a desire to learn. Second thing that we need to do, so we have the goals, we need to have some structure, because what I've noticed about a lot of people who are teaching themselves Spanish or who are considering teaching themselves Spanish is that they have no structure, they have no direction. You need structure, you need direction, and we're so used to being taught by someone else that we don't know how to teach ourselves. This tip will help you significantly. You can go to websites. Now my website, bilingueblogs.blogspot.com, will eventually be one of those websites. Right now I'm working on a lot of projects, so it is not a finished project yet. I haven't uploaded everything that I want on there. I don't even have a fourth of the lessons that I want to put on there. So maybe not Bilingue blogs yet for this purpose, but I do have helpful information on there for you, and I will continue to add lessons and things of that sort. You can use a website to learn Spanish. If you're looking for a website that may help you learn Spanish, I'll put that in the description for you so you can check that out, okay? Second thing, I think that a lot of people don't realize that this is available to them, but you can go online, go to Google or Bing, whatever you use, a search engine, and type in a Spanish syllabus. So you can look up Spanish syllabus for 101, 102, 201, like, you know, any college course, they're gonna have a syllabus, and some of them are available online. You can use this as a guide to direct you for what you want to learn next or what you're going to learn next. Follow that syllabus and boom, you have structure. Next thing you can do, if you see my video where I talk about resources or, you know, tools to learn Spanish, you may recognize this book. You may recognize this Everything Spanish book. You may recognize this Spanish grammar book. Both of these books. Let's check out what it has inside in the beginning. Oh look, a table of contents. Okay, there it is. All right. Table of contents, right? With the table of contents, they're not going to steer you wrong. With these workbooks, they're not going to teach you something that you learn at the very end of Spanish and then something you should learn at the middle and then the beginning. No, they're gonna teach you in a way that is effective so you can learn, you can have a base and then build off of that. These workbooks will definitely help you out. So you're gonna need a workbook if you're not gonna use the websites, if you're not gonna use the syllabus. Actually, even if you are gonna use those things, I would still recommend getting a workbook, and we're gonna talk about that in my next point. But follow the table of contents in that workbook, and also follow the table of contents in your vocabulary book as well, okay? So as you see here, I have a table of contents, and sometimes these go hand in hand with the workbooks. Sometimes they don't, and you have to find out which category of vocabulary to work on with the category of grammar that you're working on. That's okay. It may require a little bit of work from you, but you can do it, okay? So this brings me to my next point. What is more important to you? A while back, I took a survey on Snapchat asking which is more important, pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary. And the end result was pronunciation. That's why on my YouTube channel here, I have the pronunciation series that you can check out if you want to learn how to pronounce everything. I do think pronunciation is important. I don't think it's the most important thing though, but it is important to know how to pronounce things in Spanish. So pronunciation, yes, it's very important, like as far as having a base, but your accent, your actual accent, you know how I have a Dominican accent when I speak Spanish? That is not the most important thing because that comes along as we learn Spanish. I think that vocab and grammar are equal and they are more important than pronunciation. Why do I think this? Because if you can speak with the Spanish accent but not know any words or any grammar, then you don't know. That's not really knowing Spanish. That's just having an accent. You're pretty much no better than Al Pacino in Scarface when he was pretending to be Cuban. You have to know the vocab and grammar. Now, out of the two, which is more important? They're equal. Like I said, they're equal. Because when you study your grammar, you're gonna have to practice that with some vocabulary, or vice versa. If you have vocabulary, you're gonna have to have some grammar to put that into. Otherwise, you just know words. Or if you know grammar, then you just know the grammar rules. You don't have a chance to practice those. So you have to use your grammar and your vocab hand in hand. So here's what I mean by this. So say we're working on ser versus estar. They both mean to be, but one is more of a, permanent thing, physical attributes, characteristics. There's a lot of reasons for using ser, right? So you're gonna have to learn the vocab that relates to physical descriptions, characteristics, and things of that sort. You have to learn that vocab. So like here in the workbook, yes, it gives me a little bit of vocab, but it's not gonna give me as much vocab as I have in my vocabulary book. So let me see if there's anything in here that can help me out. If I'm learning ser, right? If I'm learning ser, what will this book teach me? Right here. So this chapter 4 of this vocabulary book, right? It's pretty much words that deal with ser and estar, working on your thoughts, your feelings, characteristics, attributes, things of that sort, right? Chapter 4 would go perfect with ser and estar. So sometimes you may have to go fishing around. You won't be able to use the actual table of contents in chronological order, but they are separated in categories. You can learn the words with specific parts of your grammar book. So pair them together. It's pretty much you're just killing two birds with one stone, and it just feels like you're doing one collaborative thing as opposed to now I gotta study vocabulary, now I gotta study grammar. No, use your practice sentences that you make with your grammar book. Use vocabulary from your vocabulary book. And by the way, this is not my favorite vocabulary book. My favorite one is Household Spanish. This one is still very helpful. But I like Household Spanish a little better. Because there's more Latin American terms in there as opposed to Spain and Latin America, which is what this one has. So, if you don't know the difference, then it may confuse you. You may say a Spanish word over here when you should be saying a Latin American one. And so that's why this is not my favorite, but it does have a lot of useful words, and some of the words are exactly the same anyways in both areas. It's a good book. It's still a good book. It's not bad at all. But when you are working on your grammar and your vocab, you need a book. You need a notebook. Write it down. Write down your vocabulary. Say it out loud as you write it down so you can retain it better. If you don't do this, it may be harder for you to retain. Moving on to my next topic, conjugating your tenses. You ever been to a buffet and you walk in and you're like, man, I want to eat every single thing here, right? Yeah, me neither. I haven't done that either. Same kind of logic goes when you're dealing with tenses and conjugation. Don't dive in and learn all of your conjugations at once. I don't recommend it. Number one, that's just gonna confuse the heck out of you. Number two, it just doesn't make sense really. So people see these lists, right? Yeah, these are all the conjugations, all the possible conjugations of one verb. In this case, it's conocer. All the possible conjugations. People see this and they freak out and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to learn this right now. Like I have to know all of these. No. You don't. Work on one at a time, one tense at a time. There are so many tenses, but and I know you want to be able to converse and say everything right now, but don't do that. Do not. Work on your present tense. Work on perfecting that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but get that to a great level and then move to your preterite imperfect and then move to other areas. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to bite all that off at one time because it's gonna do you more damage than it does help. So work on one level, get those correct because there are so many irregular forms of verbs in Spanish. You just really need to take it slow, work on one tense at a time. Follow what the book tells tells you. The book will not lead you astray, like I said. So that's all I have to say about that. The last thing that I want to talk about is time, because you guys love time. People love to ask me how long did it take me to learn Spanish. People also like to ask me, how long should I study? So I already answered the first question in another video, in my frequently asked questions video, but I'll tell you again. It took me about 2 years to learn Spanish, 2.5 years to learn Spanish, but 4 years to get over my fear of speaking with natives. So I would speak with my friends. I would write love notes to the girl that I liked or whatever in Spanish. I wasn't afraid to talk to everybody. The people that I knew only spoke Spanish, I didn't speak to them until like 4 years later. So don't follow my example. Number one, you can learn way faster than me. Number two, speak from the get-go. Like, don't be afraid. You're gonna make mistakes. People might not want to talk to you because you don't speak perfect Spanish. That's okay, it happens sometimes. Some people don't like to speak to Spanish because they don't talk English perfect either. It's just how people are. Some people are rude, but some people, like myself and others like me, are nice and are willing to work with you. So, you know, just try. And I'm not saying you have to jump in. Like I said, don't learn all those tenses at one time, but spend time really thinking about what things are in Spanish. So instead of thinking of, what do I have next to me? I have a table right here, right? Instead of thinking this as a table, I'm gonna think of it as la mesa. But that's once I learn it in my vocabulary. So once you learn something in your vocabulary, stop thinking of it in English. Think of it as that Spanish name, okay? You're not gonna lose your English. I know some people may be afraid of losing their English. You're not going to lose your English, okay? So you need to start thinking of the objects and the things that you learn, the vocabulary that you learn in Spanish. Think of them as such in Spanish, no more in English. This would definitely help you, okay? But another thing with time, I know it doesn't seem like I'm talking about time right now, but I am. With time, it's not like you can put in a certain amount of time and just be done. Like, I don't know, at least in my opinion, I think that studying should be an all the time thing. Now, when I say studying, don't think of me talking about sitting down, writing vocab in your vocabulary book and just reading the words over and over and over again. That's not what I mean. When I say studying, I'm talking about actually actively learning with the Spanish that you are working on. So what I would do is, you know, in my video where I talked about fun ways to learn Spanish, I used all of those ways. So writing poetry, writing stuff in prose, reading stuff that may be related to it. Read kids' books. You know, spend time reading kids' books. It may seem weird because you're an adult, but even, when was this, like 2 years ago? I was reading a kids' book to my children in Spanish, and there were like words in there that I did not know, and I'm like, this is a kids' book. So no, like, don't feel bad. Read kids' books. You can still learn from them as well. So you want to spend your free time learning, and also, you know, when you are studying, just make it fun. Spend time actually doing stuff that you like. I started listening to, you know, my reggaeton, bachata, salsa, all that music, my pop, my little bit of rock and stuff like that in Spanish. Watch my telenovelas, you know, watch certain movies in Spanish. You want it to be an all the time thing. So as much Spanish as you can use, as much Spanish as you can learn, as often as you can, okay? So I don't really agree with the, oh, study for an hour, study for 2 hours, then be good, because your brain has to digest all of it. I mean, if you want to do it that way, that's fine. I used to spend about 2 to 3 days on 40 words, and then I would move on to the next category, and that's just how I worked. But speaking of time, you have to take the time to review all of that over again. So I didn't just spend 2 to 3 days and that was it and I'm done. No, 2 to 3 days, then move into a different category, and then go back to that first category again and restudy those words every now and then to make sure that I did not forget them, and then it became second nature, and then I was done studying them. That's just how it worked for me. You can do less words, maybe 15 to 20 every 2 to 3 days in that manner, and you know, because review is what's really gonna get you there. You have to review. You have to review, and you have to utilize what you're reviewing. So that's why I say it needs to be an all the time thing, because well, after you review, you can utilize it by naming off the stuff that you just learned, or making a song out of it, making a game out of it. If you're playing with friends, flashcards. I mean, you guys know how to study. I don't have to tell you how to study. So yeah, just How long should you study? All the time. Really, all the time. If you're looking for a more direct answer, I'm sorry, I can't give you an actual study time. I mean, teachers in school don't even give you a study time, but they don't really care if you learn the language, I guess. They just want you to they care about your grade, I guess. So never mind. Don't quote me on the teachers on school thing. Never mind that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for today. So those are, my 5 tips for success here. So like I said, you have to have your goals, you need your structure, you need to know what's important to you. You need to not get so focused on those tenses and, practice all the time. I almost forgot. So on Bilingue Blogs this year, 2018, we are gonna be doing a lot more on the site. I've neglected it for too long, and I've been doing more frequently, but I'm making it an actual thing. It's not a New Year's resolution because I don't believe in resolutions at the new year. If you're gonna do a resolution, do it now. Like, that's the kind of person that I am. So, this has been something that's been going on for a while. I'm doing podcasts. I'm still gonna continue to do my Spanish video podcast on this channel, but I wanna have more in-depth podcasts on my bilingueblogs.blogspot.com website. If you have anything that you would like me to talk about in a podcast, please leave a comment below. If you have anything you want me to talk about in a video, leave a comment below for that too. But yep, that's all I gotta say. Check out the rest of the content on the channel, and please subscribe and like the video. If you know someone who wants to learn Spanish but they want to teach themselves, please share this video with them. Happy New Year's and have a great day.
Yeah, I should be downtown whipping on my way to you. You have something that belongs to me. Your body language says it all. Despite the things you said to me, who is it that's got you all gassed up?